Hey everyone, and welcome! We're about to pull back the curtain on one of the most incredible, high-speed journeys in the modern world. We're going to follow the path a live broadcast signal takes, from the controlled chaos of the studio all the way to your screen at home. So yeah, let's follow the signal.
And just so you know, this is the final installment, part 40 of our 40-part series on modern broadcast studios, brought to you by Virtualization Options LLC. We're going to tie everything we've talked about together by following a signal's complete journey from start to finish.
So, have you ever been watching, a live game or some breaking news and just thought to yourself, how does it actually get from the event itself?
From a place that looks like this? This is a broadcast control room, the absolute nerve center of the whole operation. You've got walls of monitors, complex gear, and a whole team of people making split-second decisions.
All the way to your living room, showing up on your screen in what feels like the blink of an eye.
Well, it's a journey that happens at pretty much the speed of light. It involves physics, some incredible engineering, and these days, a whole lot of IT. Today, we're going to follow that signal every single step of the way.
Okay, so our journey begins in the physical studio. And look, this is not just any room with cameras in it. It's a precisely engineered environment designed for one purpose and one purpose only: perfect capture.
Before a single word is even spoken, the room itself has to be perfect. It needs acoustic treatment to stop any echoes, RF shielding to block stray electronic interference from, say, cell phones. It needs redundant power because the show absolutely cannot go off the air. And, of course, precise climate control because all that high-tech gear gets really hot.
You might see these panels and think they're just for decoration, but nope, even the walls are part of the tech. They absorb sound, preventing all those reflections and reverb that would make the audio sound muddy and unprofessional. It's all about creating a totally clean slate for the sound.
Then, of course, you bring in the eyes and ears of the broadcast. We're talking high-end cameras, like this awesome remote-controlled one, and super-sensitive microphones. They take the physical light and sound waves and convert them into their very first form on this journey, electrical signals. This is the exact moment the real world officially becomes data.
All right, now all those raw signals from all the cameras and all the microphones start pouring into the control room. This is the place where a bunch of separate feeds becomes one cohesive show.
The heart of the video side of things is the video switcher, or as some call it, the vision mixer. Just think of it as the director's command console. They have dozens of inputs coming in, cameras, graphics, pre-recorded videos, and the director uses this to cut, dissolve, and switch between all those shots, literally building the show's story, visually, in real time.
And at the exact same time, probably just a few feet away, an audio engineer is doing the same thing, but for sound. They're sitting at a digital audio mixer, balancing every microphone, adding in music, mixing in sound effects, all to create a clean, rich, and perfectly balanced audio experience.
And that raw audio? It goes through a pretty complex processing chain to get it ready for broadcast. You can think of it like a polishing process. First, equalization shapes the tone. Then compression evens out the volume, so you don't have some people who are too quiet and others who are too loud. Gating is cool. It cuts out background noise when no one's talking. And finally, a limiter acts as a safety net, stopping any loud spikes from causing that nasty distortion. This whole process makes sure the audio is not just clear, but that it also meets really strict broadcast standards.
Okay, so we've got our show. It's mixed, it's polished, it's ready. Now, how does it leave the building? Well, this is where the single biggest revolution in broadcasting has happened: the shift away from physical cables to IP networks.
This chart just perfectly nails the shift. In the old days, every single video and audio source needed its own dedicated physical cable. It was a rigid, super complex system. Today, everything gets converted into IP packets, just like the data on the internet. A single network can now carry a practically endless number of signals. This makes the whole system flexible, scalable, and defined by software, not by a bunch of wires. This is the magic that enables things like pop-up channels or live reports from basically anywhere on Earth.
And because of that big change, the central equipment room, the brain of a modern broadcast station, it looks less like a messy wiring closet and way more like a high-tech IT data center. We're talking servers, network switches, and fiber optics. This is the backbone of that digital superhighway.
But there's a catch. An uncompressed HD video signal is gigantic, something like 1.5 gigabits of data per second. You can't just send that over the air or through your cable box. It's just too big. That's where video compression comes in.
It's this brilliant process that intelligently shrinks the file size, mostly by removing visual information that our eyes probably wouldn't miss anyway.
But it's a really delicate balance. If you compress it too much or you use a bad algorithm, you get these nasty visual problems called artifacts. See the color banding on the left? That's what happens when smooth color gradients turn into these ugly, distinct bands. Engineers work so meticulously to make the signal small enough to send without ever letting that happen.
So our beautifully compressed signal is now ready for the final leg of its journey. It has to travel from the studio to a transmitter, which might be miles away on top of a mountain to get the best possible coverage. This is what we call the final mile.
This special connection, the studio to transmitter link, or STL, uses all kinds of different tech. It could be a microwave radio link, which needs a direct line of sight between two dishes. It could be a super high-capacity fiber optic cable buried in the ground. Or it could be a flexible IP-based link over a private network, or even a satellite connection, which is what you see with remote news vans.
And this diversity is absolutely key. Whether it's a giant fixed microwave dish bolted to a tower or a nimble little satellite dish on a news van, the goal is exactly the same. Reliably get the finished program to the point of transmission so it can finally be broadcast out to you.
So, as we wrap all this up, the really big takeaway is this. The modern studio has totally transformed. At its very core, it's not really a collection of specialized video gear anymore. It's a powerful, flexible data center, built around machines just like this broadcast server. Think about it. We've gone from a controlled room to a network of digital packets that can be routed anywhere in the world. The very idea of a studio is changing. It's becoming less of a physical place and more of a virtualized process. And that leaves us with one final fascinating question. If the studio and the production team can literally be anywhere, what new stories will we be able to tell and what will we broadcast next?